Welcome back. Forget about it. We're back in business, everyone. I know it's been a while I've been gone, but we're back and we're going to give you guys a quick update before we got this epic episode set up for tonight. I think you guys are going to really like this one. It's a special one. But beforehand, I just want to catch everybody up. You guys probably been wondering where have I been? I'm like the phantom. I disappeared for a few months and all. So just got done. January 20th this year was our 1 year anniversary up and running over here at Forget About It. Had an amazing first year. Really loved everything about it, being on the truck, learning everything, all the experiences. So we set for 2026, we got some ambitious plans. It's all about scaling, building systems, getting everything in place. Also, want to make mention I joined a mastermind group, absolutely amazing mastermind group. It's called the Bold Business League. You guys might know the commissioner, Lee Gabolt, very big name in the junk industry. I've been part of them since November, and I've been having great success with that. It's a really great opportunity. I just want to throw it out there. It's information that you're not going to find on YouTube. A lot of us got our education in junk industry through YouTube, and it only could take you that far. I feel like a lot of the stuff out on YouTube is pretty basic and it's made more for the beginners. And I was seeking more info. I wanted to learn about scaling and just going to that next level. And I just wasn't able to find the info I was searching for. Well, I came across this mastermind group, joined it, and this is the key, guys. And what's amazing about it is once you join, you're the only person in that market allowed in. So there's going to be no competition in your area as long as you stay in the membership. And it's just a really great place for us all to share, and just give what's working for us, what's not working, comparing notes with people with many years of experience. These are the top end of the junk industry. And I got to say, I thought out going in there, I was going to know a bunch of the guys, me being out on YouTube and pretty active in social media. When I got in, it was a surprise that it didn't know really anybody. These guys, they're not really out on social media. That's why you're not hearing this information. You're not finding this information of the next level of about scaling and all. And I'd say about 95% of the junk industry, they get stuck on the truck. They're not going to that next level. Maybe they don't want to, or maybe they just don't know how. But I've definitely found the group of guys. They're very quiet. They're not really out there on social media. But joining this mastermind group, I've definitely found the right people to be around. So just wanted to let you guys know about that. If that's something you guys are interested in, feel free to hit me up. I could connect you guys with the right people, or hit up Lee Gabolt, and he could instruct you on how, if anybody's in your market already, or if it's an open area for you to join as well. So something to think about, guys. Had great success with it. Also, wanted to just make mention, had a really cool job last week. Just wanted to make mention of that. It was one of our biggest weeks. Did a big clean out. It was a store, it was a back house, and three garages. I pulled out 21 full loads out of it and a shed demo. Big money. And what was absolutely amazing, guys, this is one of the stories for, this is going to go on forever. This story is the person that we were hired by. They won the lotto for $33 million. And let me tell you, they just went absolutely crazy. They just started collecting everything, getting all these high end collections and all, and then just kind of left everything behind. And for whatever reason, and left it all. And, we came in and we grabbed up a bunch of this stuff. I got a crystal collection that's probably conservatively, probably around 25,000. If I break it down piece by piece, we're probably looking around 50K. Also, a comic book collection for the ages, about 40,000 comic books, autographed, everything. I got sports memorabilia, rookie cards, Brett Favre, autographed jerseys. I mean, just absolutely amazing. Totally blew my mind with this big clean out and all. So I just wanted to let you guys know about that. It was absolutely amazing and all. So that's me catching up with everybody. I'm planning to get a lot more active on YouTube again. We are Going to start busting out some of these amazing interviews. I'm going to get some of the next level guys for you guys looking to scale. And, we're past that beginner's level. We're looking to go, to the next level. Well, I'm going to go and seek those guys and get them on the channel and pick their brains for everybody. Before we introduce tonight's guest, I want to say what's up to everybody in the chat. We got my man Drew in the house. What is up, Drew? Vegas in the house. We got, what's up, Steve? Steve from Washington in the house. We also got, see it gone. Cisco, what is up, Cisco? How you been, brother? My man Richard from Canada is in the house. And Drew is saying he's live. Yes, I am. I'm back at it, brother. So who else is in the house? We got Jamie. Thank you for tuning in. This is going to be a good one. I think you're going to get a lot of great info from that. So guys, with that being said, let me bring on tonight's guest and start it all off. So today's episode is a big one, everyone. I've got Sam Schick joining us. Someone who didn't just build a junk removal business, he scaled it to roughly 10 million a year in annual revenue. That's not one truck. That's not a side hustle. That's real scale. Multiple trucks, multiple teams, serious systems, serious leadership. Sam built this within the 1-800-GOT-JUNK system and grew his operation to a level that most operators in this industry can only dream about. When you're talking 8-figure revenue inside junk removal, you're talking about elite execution, hiring, culture, marketing, systems, and accountability. For someone like me, about a year into building Fuhgeddaboutit junk removal, this conversation is incredibly important. I want to understand what that level really looks like behind the scenes. Sam, I truly respect what you built. Let's rewind the clock before the $10 million operation, before the trucks and teams. Who were you growing up?
Well, I grew up in the Chicago area in a suburb called Oak Lawn, and pretty middle class. But I went to work. I went to work at 14 as a caddy. My dad said, you're not going to sit home all summer. You're going to get out and get a job and make some money. So from a work ethic, I think it started early. I then had a couple of other jobs, but really fell into the optical business and started as in the laboratory where we actually manufactured lenses, and was in the optical business in a laboratory in Chicago, and ended up parlaying the experience into living in 3 countries, opening up optical stores similar to Lens Crafters in Ireland. I had a store in Belfast and Dublin. And came back after 10 years outside of the U.S. 26 years in the optical business. Went to work for a company that I thought I'd be there for about 6 months before I opened my own business. Well, it was too comfortable, and I was there for 10 years. And I saw the writing on the wall. The large companies that acquire other companies look to put their changes on it. So I knew the writing was on the wall. I knew that out of the 26 regional sales managers they had, I was the last of 3 that were remaining. So I happened to bump on something online, just looking for something, a franchise, something to get involved with. Now, I'm 48 years old, so I'm not looking to reinvent the wheel. So I'm looking for something that's going to give me a little bit of a bit of a lift off on the runway before, as far as just plain startup. So I'm bump onto this company online, and they're the largest junk removal service in North America. I think this is harebrained, picking up people's junk. I mean, how does this thing work? Well, I actually called up 26 different franchise partners and asked them a barrage of questions. And the last one I asked them was, if you had it to do over again, would you? And they said in a heartbeat. So 2004, I opened up my franchise with 2 trucks, 3 people, including myself. Now, at 48 years old, I'd been in the optical business, and a pair of glasses doesn't weigh a whole lot. So I spent the first 2 years on the trucks, learning the business from the ground level. Now, I brought with it specialty retail skills that were into, I didn't just get into manufacturing. I was a regional sales manager. So sales skill that was in specialty retail was influencing me in my junk removal business. So in 2004, when I opened up, I didn't open up as a junk removal company. Although I was a part of a franchise system, I was always, and to this day will tell you that I was not a junk removal company from the get-go. I was a sales and marketing company that just happened to pick up junk. And as long as you look at it as a sales and marketing business, that's what drives, that's the fuel in the engine. That's what drives any type of small business. So going down to the front line, I mean, I started as on the trucks. I pride myself in telling people there isn't a job you'll roll up to that I haven't seen or done myself. I think it's all important. It's not, and again, a lot of this is my experience and my opinions of how I operated my company. It's just the way I did it. There's several ways to skin this cat, and I think that I just found my way to work for me. So as much as and I got to tell you, Paul, from the beginning, Lee Gabo likes to use the term the $1 million man. Trust me, I'm not smart enough to get behind just by myself and push a company over $10 million annually. I had great people working for me, and if I don't mention my partner, my wife, she cringes every time she hears that. So she was behind it. So we were in the system in 2004. We were the 99th franchise partner. We bought we bought zip codes at the time, so I had 32 zip codes, most of the south side of Chicago. I didn't want to go downtown loop in the Chicago metro area, so I just stayed out in the suburbs. And over the 15 years, we just started buying more area. And until we got to about 207 zip codes that we were servicing, we grew it from 2 trucks, 3 people to 100 people and 25 trucks. And we had 3 different offices with warehouses. It turned into, in the beginning, I wanted to open up 4 trucks, stay in an office, send out my trucks, bring back the money, have a nice thriving business, beautiful residual income, loved it all. But it really got out of hand, and it did in a good way, because I knew by scaling the business, it could only mean good things. So it's kind of how I got into it.
Wow, there's a lot to break down there. So
Yeah.
let's go in reverse a little. I wanna slow down a little. I want to get back to your childhood. Were you entrepreneurial early? Was it in you? Like, obviously, you said you were working at 14 and you were a caddy. So that's telling me that you had the hustle bug in you from a very young age.
Yeah, I was not an entrepreneur. I was a hustle, as you say, hustle bug. I didn't believe that by telling people how good I was, that was going to get me ahead. I had to show people I was that good. So every place I worked, I always tried to be the best employee they had, and that was kind of the hustle factor for me. I started in LensCrafters. You're familiar with the company. When they built their 7th store, they only had 7 stores. I went in there as a lab manager and worked myself into a regional position. That meant stepping out of the lab, going into retail, operating a store, going into multi-store management. So it was all about getting my skill level to the point where there was no one else they're going to choose. It's going to be me. So when it came a chance for me to go to Canada and open up the same type of 1-hour optical stores, I did that. I did the same thing in England, and I did the same thing in Ireland. In Ireland, I was my own business, because by that time, I'd learned enough and saw what I saw an entrepreneur take LensCrafters from virtually nothing and turn it into a mega brand. And I knew that was what I wanted to do. Not maybe a mega brand, but just successful. And that's kind of, he was, if anything, he was a mentor for me to see what a good idea and good execution can do.
And who was the person that was your mentor?
His founder was the founder of LensCrafters was Dean Butler. Yeah, he went on to even bigger and better things. I mean, he went from to Belgium to several countries, including Russia, and he's quite the entrepreneur. But he would be the number one person that I can look back and say that he did it for me.
What about your parents? What did they do, and did they shape your work ethic at all?
Well, my parents came from my dad was in the fourth wave at D-Day. He was a Bronze Star winner. He came from virtually nothing, and he found a skill, and it was a union skill, and he was a union man. Worked as a teletype writer for the Chicago Tribune, and that was him. He didn't want to be a boss. He wanted nothing more than just to have a skill. He was very, very good at it, and he ended up retiring. When my mom was, I mean, there was nobody in my family that had the bug. In fact, when I told my mom I'm going to go to Canada, she thought I was crazy. Thought I was nuts. So, but yeah, I mean, it just was something that that I had and was developed over the time.
Did you go to college?
I went to community college. I had a 2-year degree, but really kind of went to college because it seemed to be what everybody wanted me to do. And a lot of people are coerced into going to college because that's the direction they should go in. But it didn't bear fruit, and that really bothered me. As much as I was learning about things I'd never use, I wanted to get my teeth into something I could do. That's why when I took a job at a laboratory, an optical laboratory, my first job was grinding lenses. So I mean, it was something I could actually get and build a skill in. So
now, when you were into optical. What made you, I remember you saying that you ran into an ad or something for junk removal, but what made you get interest in junk removal to start calling around to the other franchise owners? And, what just gave you that idea? Did you know it was profitable? Did you hear anything about it? Did you know anything about junk removal during those days? I
didn't know anything about it. In fact, hadn't a clue, bumped on it online, and, the more it's like peeling an onion. The more I peeled away, the better it sounded. When I talked to franchise partners, they were all middle management people like me. They're not, they were trying to build businesses. It was a harder sell to go to my wife and say, yeah, we're going from the optical business, which is kind of an ornament. It's kind of a fashion's accessory, and to tell her we're going to go into the junk removal business. It was a hard sell. But once we took the trip to the corporate office, I think she understood what we were trying to do. So,
and what was it? What was in the opportunity that attracted you to junk removal?
The thing that, I mean, if you really boil it down, we go in, we take people's unused or used things, junk, put it in the truck and charge them for it. And then depending on what you pick up, there's also a secondary market for it, and that's why we got into landfill diversion program. But it was kind of interesting. The things we were picking up weren't just, I envisioned, just absolute garbage, trash, And when I see it, you talked about the lottery winner. Never in my mind would I think I'd be picking up things like what you say. I mean, the stories, I could go on with stories of the value things we picked up and the amount of money we made off it. It's not like, and in fact, when our customers say, you're going to probably sell that for a lot of money, I tell them, keep it. I said, make sure if there's anything that you see of any value, keep it. Otherwise, when we take it, we have an extensive landfill diversion program. We want to keep it out of the landfill. So we'll do whatever we can. We'll donate it. We'll go to resale stores. But we wanted to make sure people didn't think that there was kind of a underhanded situation here where we were charging them and then making money off their stuff. But yeah.
Now, let me ask you, so 1-800-GOT-JUNK, where were they at back in 2004 when you were getting in? Were they very big then? Were they still on their way up?
They were still on their way up. They're at 90. I was 99th franchise partner, and I think they grew as high as 350, somewhere in that area. But they were still developing their systems. They were still they had extensive systems already in place, but they were still developing. They were still in their infancy. I mean, when we talk about digital marketing today, it wasn't anything like it is today in 2004. Some of the things that they had to develop, along the way had been, how are you going to market this business? But they were learning, and they could claim the fame to the largest junk removal company in the North America. And after that, they went worldwide. So I mean, it was they were learning along with us, but they had systems in place that certainly I train a lot of junk removal businesses that are startup because I work alongside Lee Gobbold, and we work together on new people opening up junk removal services. So I understand what it takes to open up your own business, and certainly in franchise businesses, you have a menu, you have a playbook already, which is kind of nice. It's kind of a benefit to you, but it doesn't come close to making sure you're successful. It just gives you a roadmap, and it depends on how you follow that roadmap, and it depends on what you bring to the party. And how successful you're going to be within the junk removal. So at the time, we had a collective group of franchise partners that, like the Lee Gobbold's Bold League, we could talk to anybody in any franchise, get together and run questions back and forth, which was a real benefit. I mean, I talk to people out there that are opening up junk removal services, and it's tough when you're going it on by yourself. I mean, you can go to YouTube, which wasn't around, but I mean, that's something that you can go to and learn the business. But I really have a lot of admiration for people that open up without the support, but I also point them towards finding that support structure, that leadership group that you can, as Sam Walton said, he shamelessly stole his ideas. He didn't come up with all this stuff. He shamelessly stole ideas, and trust me, the things that I've learned over the 15 years, most of it was stolen because it was stolen from people that found success, and I just imitated it. And Paul, that kind of reminds me that what I tell people, especially getting in the junk removal business, there's innovators, there's imitators, and there's idiots. And trust me, Warren Buffett said this. He said the innovators are the ones that come in and they find they find that service that nobody else is doing. They find that thing, that special sauce, that recipe nobody else is doing, and they're the innovators. They blow it out. And then there's the imitators that say, hey, I can just follow what he did or what she did, follow that recipe, and make sure that if I do the same things they do, I'll be as successful. He's already proven it. And then you have the idiots who come in and say, I can do it better than anyone else, and I'm going to change everything. And those are the ones that usually don't last too long.
So Russ says, business-to-business questions is huge. Having people to ask questions to is huge in growth and development. Amen to that, Russ, for sure. Do you have any comment to say to that, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, like I just said, I want to imitate the successful people that are working out there. So when it comes to collectively getting together, we had a program that we put together. It was within our group of franchises, In the Midwest, it was called Show and Tell Your P&L. People are afraid to show P&Ls because there's some kind of secret there. Well, we shared percentages, and percentages never lie. Dollars lie. They don't really tell you the whole truth. Percentage cost of sales as a percentage form always are the indicator what your business is doing. I tell people if they want to do $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $20 million, if you don't know your numbers, you're going to have a hard time getting there. And once you're there, you won't even know it. So knowing your numbers, being able to read a P&L was certainly important, but collectively getting together, business to business, and sharing ideas, sharing financial resources like that, it was just so valuable to me.
I'm finding the same value with that Bold Business League that I was talking about at the beginning of the show. Being around like-minded guys, we're tracking all our KPIs weekly. All of us are sharing our numbers, and there's no competition in as far as in your area. So you feel safe being able to share these numbers with others and just discussing what's working on a weekly basis. If I'm finding success something, I'm going to share it with the group. If somebody else in the group is finding success somewhere else, they're letting us know. And it's just it's making us all a lot better and at junk removal for sure.
Well, after I sold my business in 2019, I thought, let's go off into the distance and just go have fun. But I realized that I learned a lot, not just on my own, but from all these people. And I said, I have information that I can share with other people. And that's what you want to do. You want to get together with masterminds, people that have gone through it, made the mistakes so you don't have to, and collectively get together in groups like that. So that's kind of the benefit of the franchise system. The benefit is that you're collectively doing the same thing, and you can feed off of each other.
Yeah, I also want to shout out Kevin Hess is in the house, and he says, question for Sam. Did you find any mentors within the Got Junk system?
Within the Got Junk system, yeah, there was quite a few mentors. We had regional sales managers that were really good. None of them, they're still plugged into the system, so but they were called BDM, business development managers. But I think just within our franchise group, you find franchise partners that you can learn a heck of a lot from. And when we went to conference or when we got on phone calls, I'd pick their brains. I'd find out what they're doing well. But yeah, you're always looking for that mentor, and even mentors who are in like the home care business at your Chamber of Commerce, they can teach you a lot. And Chamber of Commerce, you don't have to join them all, but join the ones that are in the where your customers are, and talk to the people that are in home care business and home businesses that you can learn a lot from just that. But a lot of it came from drawing on. I said I was a sales and marketing company that just happened to pick up junk, so a lot of it was just developing systems that I already knew were working because I was mentored in the optical business.
It's so funny when you're talking. There's so many similarities between ourselves, and I always preach that any industry I get into, I always seek the best. Who will answer me that I could pick their brains from, and just cut off lots of time by learning from their experience, and also learning from their mistakes and believing in their mistakes that where I don't have to go and make the same mistake. And I've always been a big fan of that. And being in so many different industries, I feel like I've really got the formula. And just like you said, it doesn't matter what industry you put me in, I'm going to do the same thing. And it all comes down to the sales and marketing. It's pretty much works universal and all that. So, and that's also why we got you on right now. We had you in the mastermind group, and just listening to you talk, Sam, I was just like, boom, this is the guy I'm seeking right here. This is the guy that's got all the answers. He did it already. He's been in the position that I dreamed to be in one day in junk industry, and you even exited, and you were very successful with everything, and that is very admirable. So I have to ask you this though. What does it cost to buy a 1-800-GOT-JUNK franchise in Chicago back in 2004?
Oh, back then, I paid about $250,000 all in with trucks and everything. Everything went in.
So when you say that with the trucks and everything, is I remember you saying that you started off with 2 trucks and all.
Mhm.
Is that part of it? So you got what do you get when you buy in? So you bought in with 250,000. What is the standard procedure?
Well, first of all, there has to be an availability, and it's usually you're buying zip codes, and they put a price on zip codes. Back then, I don't even remember what they were, but they put a price on a zip code, and we bought 32 zip codes. And back then, they have a formula or calculation for each metro area. How many zip codes they're going to sell within those areas, and yeah, I mean, we bought up the south end of south suburbs of Chicago, thinking that would be enough for 4 trucks and just sit back and enjoy the business. But it got way busier than that, and the opportunity was there because they were expanding and trying to expand as quickly as possible. So I just jumped on board and thought, I'd rather sell a watermelon than a grape. So, and trust me, my exit strategy in the beginning was we opened, I think it was October 9th. That day that we opened in 2004 was the same day it went up for sale. My exit strategy was to build value, build it up. And of course, I wasn't going to quick sell it. It was a question of building value and equity in my business so that it can take care of me and my family, and give us the way of life. And that was about scaling the business as quickly as possible to do that.
And what made you choose a franchise rather than start your own independent brand?
Oh, back then, I'd been through the corporate grind. I was 48 years old, which middle age, a little bit older than middle age, but I thought, I just want to join a franchise. I looked at all kinds of them. I looked at, Jimmy John's franchised. I looked at coffee. I looked at all kinds of different franchises. And if you know me, I mean, I have a bit of a weight problem. So food franchises aren't going to appeal to me as much as Got Junk. It was my own health club. So I didn't, if I was, I've met some amazing owners, operators that are in their 20s, and the only regret I have is I wish I had done this when I was in my 20s, because frankly, I love this stuff. I don't have to do this. I don't have to train people. I don't have to work in this, but I love it. And the fact that I love it, I still like to keep my toe in the water. I still like to talk to people and give them the benefit of what I learned in 15 years and hopefully help somebody.
Kevin says, Todd Beaver said many great things about you, Sam.
Todd's a great guy. Todd's up in Milwaukee. He's fabulous. Him and I got along really well, and in fact, had him on my fishing boat. It was just, believe me, when I say fishing boat, it was like a 12-foot skiff with a 9-horse motor. So don't get crazy about it. But we had some good times, and you connect with people like the Bold Business League. You connect with people that you can share a lot of things just other than business. You can share some really good experiences.
Russ says, low competition when they started. Mine here started in 07 and is nowhere near as big as now. And he's in Rochester, New York, and he's talking about 1-800-GOT-JUNK.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. I've seen the business, and I know where it's gone because I've been plugged in. And there's a lot of competition. However, I'll remind you, in 2004, a lot of people thought we came to buy their junk. So we had a customer that wasn't educated on what we exactly do. So it took some time and to where they understood, and through as many the large players and the small players, customer got educated. But then it's the cost of entry in the junk removal is so small. You have a pickup truck and a magnetic sign, you're in the junk removal business. There is something that I was thinking about the other day is, everybody talks about competition. I mean, there's several players out there, but the ones that are going to be there are the ones that have solid systems. They know how to scale their business, but they focus in on marketing and they focus in on the sale. Amazon, where were they? Before it was UPS, FedEx. Now, Amazon came in when the U.S. Mail was competing, and FedEx and UPS was competing. I know Amazon has other fingers in it, but as a delivery system, they blew people away. They still do to this day. It's amazing what they do. So realize that it's not necessarily the competition you have to worry about. It's about your brand, what you're developing. Paul, one of the things that attracted me to you was, first of all, take this in the right way. You're a character, okay? But you're a brand building character. That alone had me interested in you because I thought this guy can represent a brand in a really positive light. But then what surprised me was behind the dark glasses and the stogie is somebody that actually thinks like a marketer, that thinks about their business. So that I really liked the connection with you, and I've seen a lot of your YouTube stuff, and I think when you build today a business, you're building a brand, you're building identity there's when it boils it all down to, and this is what I tell new business owners is, you're not getting in the junk removal business per se. You're getting in the customer service business, because what we sell, we don't sell anything. We don't make anything. We don't make junk. Okay, we go and pick it up. In order to let us pick up your junk in your home, you better trust us. So your image has to trust us. Your brand has to trust us, and the people you send, they have to trust that you're going to come in their home and treat it with respect. So when I talk about sales and marketing, my sales side is teaching people what the customer experience is like from the beginning to the end, with the idea of building trust. Okay, even with a glitzy brand and even with all the right tools, if you don't develop a customer experience that has them coming back for more, a one and done is not going to make it. And I think that some of the larger brands have figured it out. Some of the smaller brands, even the smaller guys, have figured it out, and they're scaling really fast. So I think that to me is the epitome of what we're trying to do, is to create that trust. With my team, I use situational role play, and I had a methodology that I worked them through. What is it like for a customer to go through an experience, and what do we need to train you on before you get in front of my customers? Favorite interview question is, do you know how to sell? Everybody knows how to sell. Who'd you learn? Where'd you learn? Oh, it's learned on customers. What a pathetic way to learn how to sell to a customer, on a customer. So, and I say pathetic, but it really doesn't make sense. So situational role play, when we did our training, we were training people on how to sell the service, sell themselves, and sell the job. And that's what helped.
Yeah, Kevin says it's all about the customer experience, and I totally agree with that. And as far as with your role playing and everything, so how would you practice that? Would that be in the morning meetings? And what would be the frequency? Would you do that every day? Would it be a couple times a week? How would you go about that?
Well, people are kind of, I guess they may or may not believe me, but we did it every single day. We had an acronym for our sales presentation from beginning to end, and it represented by a letter each step. So we took a letter each day, and we took 15 minutes and we role played it. Now, picture you're training a sales staff. What better environment to train everybody but in a morning meeting, when you bring two people up and they're your truck team, and you have your customer, and you're doing a situational role play, and you're breaking it down afterwards. And you're starting off with what went well, and you follow up, what could we do different? And everybody in that room is contributing. Everybody in that room is seeing it. So your training is not a one-on-one. It's always together. Now, 15 years of doing it every single day. Did we miss a few days? Yeah, I'm sure we did. But it was always getting back to the basics. how could you role play something every day? I will tell you personally that every time that I was in a role play, I learned something different. Okay. And a lot of times in this, I learned in the optical business, when it comes to selling, you probably aware or familiar with anti-reflective coating. It's the stuff that gives you your clarity of vision. Well, when we were selling anti-reflective coating, when we would recommend it, we wouldn't say just we recommend it. We'd say we highly recommend it. Just by putting that word in front of highly recommended, changed the numbers drastically. It's unbelievable how small little words can add so much value to an experience to a customer. And taking that same thing into a junk removal experience, one of the things that blew my mind was I'm looking at all my reviews and I'm reading the reviews on what the guys did well and what the guy, and I'm seeing a collection of reviews that always say the same thing, had nothing to do with us taking their junk. What they remarked on was they even swept up after they're done. Do you know how many people see the value in the sweep up more so than anything else? I mean, the comments I got with customers, my kids won't even sweep up. Look at you guys, you sweep up. So, a lot of times, we talk about mastermind groups and getting together with what works for everybody else, and that's all well and good. But where I get a lot of my experience was being with my customers and seeing what they wanted. Seeing how do they perceive value? Not me. Okay, so I got a bigger truck. Who cares? So I do. I take anything you got. So, but when I went in, and one of the things we did was to find out what is their pain today. What do they want to see from us? Do they talk about recycling? Do they talk about how long it's been there? Do they talk about they can't get people to do it? Do they? We find what their pain is, and we try to marry it with what we do. But it's that's why I really love this stuff, and that's why I train it, I develop it, and I think if you're going to survive in this business, you've got to be able to think as a sales and marketing company. And trust me, I understand there's a lot of competition out there. This is my own opinion, so please don't take it to the bank. Whenever we saw something like this in other industries where there was a lot of competition, there was a shakeout. Now, it may not be something that you won't see for years, but there's a shakeout. You take the grocery stores where there were mom and pop grocery stores on every corner. You take the drug stores where there are mom and pop drug stores on every corner. Usually something of high margin value in that localized will go to a smaller margin and will be blown out by a larger company. Not to scare everybody here, believing this is my opinion, but that's the reason why you want to look like a big company. You want to have a brand that's big and bold. You want to have people that are well trained. You want to take this to another level. I had a saying in my office that I took it from the optical business. Providing a service people want and doing it better than anyone else. That was as simple as I would tell people. And just do it better than anyone else. And build your company into one of those big giants, because you'll either be a big giant in, as it does shake out, or you'll be acquired by a big giant.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. You just hit so many different points that I just total in agreement. And I've been trying to find my own way of just sticking out, as far as giving that 5-star customer service. And one of the guys that really has helped me out so much from the very beginning is my man, Kevin Hess. And when I hear you talking, it's very, very similar. You guys have that very customer service kind of approach with everything. And I really, really like that. And I just want to give you a few examples of what we've been doing to stand out. And we've been getting a lot of great reviews for stuff like this. That is for the phone call beforehand, the half an hour before a phone call. And I always ask, can I get you a coffee? Can I get you a drink or something? They absolutely love that. So many times do they leave a review, and they even asked a half an hour before if I could get a coffee, a drink. That just, right away, it separated us from everybody. Now, also recently, what I've been doing is instead of asking if we could come in with our shoes on, right away we put the booties on. I got some official booties with the traction on the bottom and all. I put those on immediately. Now, if I know we're going to be taking out some big items from the house, what I do is I have this new piece, this new tool where it's a moving blanket and it's got 3 springs on it. So I come in here and I set that right up on the door frame. And people are looking at it like, oh my God, what are you doing that for? That's just to protect it, just a protection and everything. So they're already like, holy shit, like this guy's got his booties on. He's setting up a whole thing to make sure nothing gets messed up and everything. And it's just like these little details that we're doing that really stand out. Now, one step further, say we remove a piece of furniture, a sofa or something. You know, when you pick up that sofa, there's always something left behind, a bunch of stuff that's been under there for years and all that. So now we just got our backpack, a Milwaukee backpack vacuum. So my guy comes in here, he's got his backpack on, going vacuums it right up. These people are in awe. They're like, oh my God, wow, this is, you know, I didn't expect all this. Same thing as outside. If we're outside in the driveway and we did some work, you know, I'm going to go through with the blower, make sure everything is looking spotless and everything. And it's just like all these little details that are adding up that the customer is noticing. And they're like, oh my God, I never thought a junk removal company would be doing all that. What we're trying to do is just give that white glove experience, just really, really go overboard with everything. And I've been seeing great things with that. So I got to ask you, Sam, is there any other kind of like little tips that you guys used to utilize, like something like that, maybe that I'm missing or something I could add into the whole, you know?
Yeah, there's a couple things that, first of all, your team represents your brand. So when I see guys walking in, and I saw a junk company today on my block. The guy had his hat turned around, which to me, you know, it may be the look for kids today. It may be the look for people my age, but to look professional, the bill has to be forward. There's no stickers on it. It's always clean. It doesn't have sweat stains on it. The shirt, I'm a big believer in the collared shirt. I know a lot of people do T-shirts, but the collared shirt is a much smarter look. Now, I was in Chicago. I didn't allow shorts because I didn't like maybe it's gray hair, but I called it a thuggish look. But I understand in the southern states, but trust me, at 48, 50 years old, I was on the truck with shorts, with long pants. And if it's good enough for me, it's good enough for them. And it also protected their legs. So a uniform, and let me explain my uniform. And it was really mine, but it was really the company was promoting this. There was only an exception to it. You know, the shirt, the polo shirt, brown belt. It was a chocolate brown belt that had to match the chocolate boots, and only chocolate boots, not yellow boots or green boots, or chocolate boots that matched the brown belt. Okay. Then it was the pants. They were we happened to get the Dickie pants with the cell phone pocket. Yeah. Those were the only. There's 2 types of blue. There's light blue and dark blue. We had the dark blue. But then it came to the boots. Okay, we had steel tip boots. Now here, Paul, this was one of the things that really set us apart. Is every morning the guys, if we started our meeting at 7, then at 6:58 you're late. Okay, I want you there 5 minutes before because we have a boot polisher and you're polishing your boots. Everybody walks out of our place with their boots polished. What a great impression. Now, do they stay that way throughout the day? No, they don't. But, you know, it's sometimes the small things you do for your staff looks really huge in their mind. So if you're after them about polishing their boots, how are they going to, you know, respect yourself with your dress? How are they going to respect your customers? So making sure standardized uniform is there and it's done. That, you know, you don't have to go out and, you know the guys are going to be in the right dress and they were wearing it the right way. So yeah, there were things that we did. We talked about that one word. You know, when we swept up, we would tell Paul, hey, based on what we took today, we're going to do what we call a super sweep. And we're going to sweep not only the living room where we took all the stuff, but also any area in your house, whatever you might have, we've got the broom and dustpan out. Why don't we sweep? So if you have anywhere else we can go, perfect. So again, it's about adding value, and those are the things that I found. Also, the truck. Keeping the truck. Here's a pet peeve of mine: is we drive a junk truck, but it doesn't have to look like a junk truck. Um, the dashboard. I've seen some of the competitors in the area. If you throw stuff on the dashboard, which I see ducks and I see little papers, and it looks like trash. And
Sam, I got to mark this down because I gave a speech yesterday in my truck to my employees. I said that's got to go. I can't have that look. It's looking cluttered. I was like, where are the guys that coming in decluttering and you're cluttering up our dashboard? Cannot happen. So we're on the same page with that. And I'm so glad you just said that. I'm going to let them listen to this part. He might be listening right now. So Enrique, if you're listening, I'm not crazy.
well, the other thing I did is I wouldn't allow them to smoke. Now, I smoked all the way up until I was 32 and quit. But I know what the habit is, but I wouldn't allow them to smoke in the truck.
Yeah.
Did they smoke? Yeah. And there's a real trick to it. When you're a non-smoker and you turn on the heat in a truck, you smell whether they smoked or not. So I said you get plenty of breaks. There's time where you're doing marketing. If you can, stop for a while, as long as it's not in front of a customer, you want to smoke, not allowed smoking in there. And the truck is as clean in the morning and as clean in the afternoon as you dropped it off. So there isn't any toys and things left behind. The truck has to be ready to operate the next day, and it has to look good. We were, it was part of the brand was you had to have clean, shiny trucks, and we washed our trucks every day. We made sure that they left. I've seen companies, other companies that were in home business. They actually purchased a car wash to run their trucks through. It's all important. Again, if you're building a bold brand, something that's going to be worth some value, and I presume everybody wants to do that. Easy is get a magnetic sign and put it on the side of a pickup truck and go in business for as long as it lasts. The hard thing is putting systems in place. The one misunderstanding when I told people I was going in the junk removal, they thought I was crazy. Everybody said, well, you're just taking junk and throwing it in the back of the truck. That's what it looks like, but it's not. This is a really tough business. It's a very hard business if you do it right. And again, doing it right is
you're more of a problem solver. It's not just junk removal. You're coming there to solve people's problems. And I also got to say, I'm with you with the whole keeping the clean junk truck, which, a lot of people around, they see me at the end of every day, even if it's raining, we're in that car wash and we're washing underneath the truck. We're getting all the dirt off from the dump and all that, making sure everything is spotless. And some of my guys will be like, hey, boss, it's raining today. What are we doing? I said, it's just being in the habit. It's clearing off all the mud underneath the truck and just having that shiny truck all the time. It just shows our pride in our brand and everything. And it also shows employees of how prideful they should be for the brand.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's again, it's all about if you're building a brand, what do you want it to represent? And I've always been I look at, in fact, the franchisor looked at FedEx and UPS back in the day when they had uniforms, and most of the time, even Amazon, their trucks are always clean and they look clean. They look trustworthy. But yeah, you represent the brand. You have to, integrity should bleed from the brand.
Now, I want to back up a couple of questions I had about as far as the franchise and everything. What kind of freedom did you have with the franchise? Is it like, do they set your pricing, the branding, the systems? Like, what kind of freedom can you, have different than others, or does it have to be uniform across the board with the company?
Great question. They have their systems, and they want you to, there isn't any wiggle room when it comes down to, you use their call center. You use their trucks, specifically their trucks.
Sam, when you say you use their call center, so you don't have to answer the phones at all, that you have nothing to do with that?
Yeah, theoretically, if you didn't want to answer the phone, you didn't have to answer the phone. They have a call center. Now, The call center was located in Vancouver. They also had one at the time in Toronto, but they would answer your calls. But theoretically, you didn't have to answer the phone, but there was customers that were, especially commercial side, that knew me, call my cell phone. There were people that called the local number because we had a local number. So we had the ability to book our own jobs. But the call center, we're it was a little, it was a bit pricey, but considering the fact that I didn't have to manage that side of the business, was a big savings. However, when I talk to guys that are taking their own calls, your conversions are much higher than I got. Our conversion rate was in the 40-45%. Guys that are taking conversion, doing their own, they're in the 60-70%. So with that local flavor, I think that you can certainly close a lot more jobs on the phone, especially if you have a personality to do it. But it was part of the business that I didn't have to manage directly. Indirectly, I had to manage their performance. And so that was done. The pricing was, they couldn't, as a franchise, any kind of franchise system, they don't set pricing, you do. So we set our own pricing. It was based on what the market could bear. I know that everybody talks about they're the most expensive, and they are. I will say that we weren't the cheapest. But the thing that at the time, I think when we first opened up, I think it was a 478 full truckload. We ended up, I think towards the end, we were near $700 truckload. But the thing that I always felt when we brought the price to where it was, we had to deliver the goods. We had to give the customer experience everything. Otherwise, we're ripping them off. I don't think it's just about a high price. I think it's about we were considered a premium junk removal service, which we weren't Walmart. We were, you got what you paid for, and what you got was the level of trust was much, much higher, and that's what we tried. Now I know there's people out there that are thinking, I've seen them. They don't look anything like this. Well, in a franchise system, the one thing that is the hardest thing for a franchisor to do is continuity in the brand. Every franchise will have their own nuance to what they do. But I used Warren Buffett's imitator. I want to imitate the brand to what's successful. And that's what I did. And then I brought in the shining your boots, big deal. But that was all about customer experience. That was all about not just being the brand, but what did my customers want to see?
Now, how much culture freedom did you have as setting your own culture, or is it just 1-800-GOT-JUNK has got its set culture and you got to kind of keep it in line with them, or can you kind of have your own kind of feel and culture going on?
That's funny because in any individual franchise, you develop your own culture. You can get, information from the franchisor that will talk about things you should be doing, things they, get down to HR issues, as far as performance reviews and things of that nature, but also things of, reward systems and things that are going to help motivate and build your culture. But it's your choice. I mean, you have to build your own culture. And I have to tell you that, that's why I say it wasn't me, it was my people. People I hired, they drove my business. I was a catalyst. I helped them, but they drove my business.
I want to go in reverse. I want to go back to your first year.
Hmm?
I remember it was you and your wife and all. Was your wife also on the truck with you?
No, there was, she'll tell you she was there for the job that we got on our anniversary, which happens to be New Year's Eve. When all the guys I sent home, and I get a 6 truckload job late in the afternoon. And I said, honey, put on your uniform, you're on a truck. So she'll talk about the job she was on, or the 32 truckload job she was helping with. But she was the back office person. But She was as plugged into the way the business ran as I was, but not on the operation side. It was, and Paul. One of the things I always thought is a good um, a good uh, program to have would be couples in junk, because there's you have to know how to work with each other, not as a husband and wife. You certainly have to learn that, but as business owners, my wife was fortunate for me. She understood that I made the high level decisions, and my decision was kind of the direction, but I did not I did not steamroll it. I asked for her opinion. We even in cases where I didn't think it was the right direction, she is passionate enough to convince me that it's the direction to go, and a lot of times she was right. So, a show that would show the give and take, because I'll tell you, it's rough on a marriage, and it takes. I mean, it takes a lot to take even a franchise system to take it from 0 to 10 million. It doesn't come easy. To take it from I'll tell you, every half a million changed my company. So every time I made a half a million or to a million to 1.5 million, it changed the look of my company, and it put different pressures on me, and it put different pressures on my wife. But we learned, and we got through it. So be interesting anyway.
Did you ever question whether it would work at the very beginning?
No. Failure was never an option, and that was exactly what I always worked for. It's just not an option for me. I think that I was concerned when we opened up in September to December. My total sales from September to December were $48K. And I thought, holy moly, we got to do something to move this needle, because it's not working fast enough. Well, I didn't understand the seasonality of the business. So it was not the greatest time to open up, but we did okay. But slowly but surely, we gained momentum going into our first year. And we finished our first year, I think it was like 2.25, 250. Again, this is a business that people thought we were going to buy their junk when we showed up. So it didn't take off like a rocket ship. But again, Paul, I had the idea of building a 4-truckload company. I wasn't on a race to get to 1 million. I just wanted to do it the way I wanted to do it.
What was your lowest moment?
My lowest moment. Oh, I'll tell you, the lowest moment is when you put all your trust in an employee. You almost become because I don't have children, but my wife and I don't have children. There is almost because you're finding this particular employee was between 18 and 27. Usually they were from a broken home, and you're the mentor for them, and you trust them with your business. You trust them with sharing opinions and thoughts, and then one day you find out they're stealing from you. That's a hard thing to go. I still cringe about some of the stuff that unfortunately, as business owners, you can't trust anybody. You have to suspect everybody, but you don't have to do it in a way that you just have to you have to go in with your eyes open. That's why knowing your numbers, the thing that if you can measure it, you can manage it, is a big saying I always use. If you can measure it, you can manage it. And it comes right down to all your KPIs, and the ones that show up, the people that maybe are not thinking in your best interest, shows up in your KPIs because you measure something that shows up. Why is my dump so high? Why? What are these guys? How come it took them an hour and a half to do a 1/4 truckload? You can kind of weed out those. But the other side of this thing is, slow to hire, quick to fire. Making sure you do your due diligence and you hire the right people. Here's a big winning. This is an aha moment for me. I hired hundreds of people in the optical business, one at a time, from opticians to doctors to one at a time, interviews that lasted an hour and a half. This blew my mind. I said, group interview came into play. Have you ever done a group interview, Sam? Nope. Try it. Pull in 3 or 4 people. Group interview at one time instead of one at a time. Why waste your time? There is nothing at an interview that is secretive. So what changed my life was bring in 2 or 3 people. Back then I could get 15 people to show up to an interview. Now it's a little tougher, but to group interview, not only gives you a measuring stick to measure both, but it also, in my situation, my wife helped me, and so did my ops managers. They helped me. The 2 of us would interview 2 to 3 people. And while I was asking questions, my ops manager was observing and listening. While he was asking questions, I was listening and observing. We selected, through the group interview, much better people. And face it, back then we had very few people that would cancel. Nowadays, if you have 5 people come in, you're lucky to get 2, 1. So why tie up a whole day with interviews when you tie up an hour and a half with interviewing 3 people at the same time? Trust me, I wish it was my idea, but it's not. And I wish I could tell you that it just saved me so much time and aggravation, and it was the crux of finding the right people.
I like that. That's a good one, because it's also going to make the person that really stand out. If they are a standout candidate, you'll get to see that. Hold on, I got to put on my the camera view. Just give me 1 second.
Yeah. I see Kevin's question.
Yeah. So Kevin says, when it comes to training, did you go against the grain or go above and beyond the basic training that the franchise provided?
Yes and yes. Yes, I did. I provided this training the company gave, but I went above because I brought in my sales training. And although they were doing something similar, it wasn't an everyday. There wasn't as much importance on sales training. Here's another thing there in the sales training I found out is here I'm teaching these guys to sell my service, okay, to customers that need our service. But think about that equation. You're teaching guys that would never use our service to go in front of customers that would use our service and try to sell it. So trust me, when it comes down to confidence, you have to build their confidence in selling a service they would never use. And that's a tough thing to do. So when I say every day, I wanted to understand the benefit isn't you, the benefit is what your customer needs. I can say that we can, we have a 14-yard truck and we do all the loading and the lifting. We do all the dump. We do everything that we can bring. But I'm better off saying, Paul, what are you looking for us to do today? What would you like us to do? Oh, let me tell you, Sam, this stuff has been here for, 2 years. Paul, it's going to be gone in like 20 minutes. It'll be gone. I want to find out where your pains are. So in a role play meeting, we try to hone in on what the customer's saying and listen to what they say. That's how you build customer experience.
You're looking for their key value point. That's what the key right there. And that's what I've been training my guys. And that's one of Kevin's trainings as well. Yeah. So I've just taken all this in, and I love what I'm hearing. When was the first time that you said, wow, I'm going to make it, this is going to be something special here? How long up and running until you felt that moment?
It was pretty soon, because trust me when I say that my guys didn't believe the service was that valuable. I go into it thinking, how valuable can this be? But some of the things we were doing for people was I'm picking up things that I can donate, I can find second use for, where people are benefiting from it. I'm charging, at the time, $478 for a full truckload, and it only took us 20 minutes to get it. I mean, that's amazing. And the numbers started rolling around in my head because I knew what the profitability was going to be on it. And I thought, if we can just, we could just scale this with more trucks, more guys. We have to make sure that they all follow a system and a training that multiplies what I'm thinking in my head. And that's the issue is, can you get off your truck? Are you at the point where you can say, I've got systems in place where I can duplicate for your business little Pauls out there that are going to do the same job I would? Because the hardest seat to get out of is the owner's seat. But if you can get out of that owner's seat and the driver's seat and let somebody do it for you and do it as well and even better. I'm pretty good at facilitating role plays in a group, but my guys became really experts at it and better than I was. And that's what I was looking for. So finding that, finding that time to get out of that seat and being able to multiply the little Pauls around.
For operators 1 to 2 years in, what advice would you give them right now?
I'd say look at your business where it was, look at where it is today, and ask all the hard questions, and try to find the answers. The one thing I can tell you that I learned from the franchisor was, if you don't have a plan of where you're going to be, you're going to get there. You just won't know you're there. So the idea is to have a plan. We were very strong on, by November, we had the annual plan figured, budget done for the next year. Like for instance, this year, I'm sure the budgets were done by November for 26. We knew exactly how many signs we were going to put out in each month. We knew how many sales we were going to make per month. I was, again, if you can measure, you can manage it. I broke my sales down to the annual, to a quarter, to a month, to the week, and to the day. So my guys knew exactly what they were going out, what were we going to try to achieve today? And everybody shared in the plan, and everybody knew the direction we were going in, so that we celebrated successes together as a team. And we didn't celebrate, but we learned how we could overcome our mistakes and how we could get around doing things better. So I think the thing I would tell you in the second year, it's all right going through the first year without a plan because you're trying to get your feet on the ground. But during that first and second year, you better have a plan of where you're going to get to. Otherwise, you're just not going to know. You're just not going to know.
So here's another plug for the Bold Business League. That's exactly what we do. And, we just did that meetup in December. We went up and met up in Minneapolis, all of us. And what we did is we just made our plan for the first quarter of 2026. Everybody put down their goals, how we were going to achieve the goals. And then what we do every week is we go over everything and make sure, hey, did you do what you were supposed to? Are you en route to hitting your goals? And it just kind of keeps everybody on point. There's no falling off. If you're not working towards your goals that week, you're going to get called out, and they're going to have they're going to let you know, like, you got to speed things up, or how come you didn't get this done? And it just keeps you accountable. And I can't say how much that helps. I'm one of those guys. I got a lot of energy. For one example, everybody was like, "Here, just come up with 1 or 2 goals for the next quarter." Of course, I have 8 of them, and Lee's like, that's a lot. Normally, we would just tell everybody to just keep it to 1 or 2. He goes, but I know you. He goes, I know you will get all 8 of them done. So we'll let you stick with those 8 and all. But it's keeping my foot down on the gas pedal the whole time, And then when I hit those goals, we're already on to the next one. So now we're setting up the next meetup, for April. And we're already off to that. So it's kind of like it's all happening so quick, but it's keeping me on pace and it's keeping me accountable. So I just wanted to share that with everybody. Guys, if that's something that would help you guys out, maybe you guys might be a right fit for that Bold Business League. And we're looking for some top performers across the country. And it just helps each other keep accountable. So just another plug for the Bold Business League.
Well, it's a plug for any league or any network group. You guys get Bold Business is what we had as a franchise. We had a system that communicated across franchisees. And that's what you want. You want to gain on everybody's experience. Absolutely.
Exactly. So now I want to walk through a day inside 1-800-GOT-JUNK. And I want to start off with, the punch in to the final job. I just want to
Mhm.
kind of, go about the day, like, as far as morning meetings and kind of stuff like that. So we could just kind of get the routine down.
Okay. Again, I was a franchisee. How I ran my franchise isn't necessarily the same across the country. So we all have different ways in which we operate. Um, I'll tell you what I did. I had 3 warehouses and 3 offices in Chicago. And each morning we met at 7 o'clock. And again, 6:55. If you're past that, you're late. So I need the guys there beforehand. So at 7 o'clock, we started the meeting we looked at, we had our sales board, like if it was in the back of me, would have all my KPIs on it. Okay. KPIs were filled out by each truck team. It was one big, massive chalkboard, and they filled out the KPIs per day. So when we sat down in the meeting, we were looking at the KPIs for yesterday or the week or the month, but we were talking for the first 15 minutes, we were talking about performance.
Sam, can you share what is the main KPIs that you were sharing with the truck guys and all?
Well, all the ones you can think of, but I'll tell you the main one that I on a daily basis, AJS is the king.
Average
Average
jobs.
average job size or average job sale is the biggest one you want to work on. Yeah, I mean, what does the average job size tell you? It tells you where your average clients are coming from. So let's say your average job size is in the middle of your price sheet, which is probably where it should be. From a half a truck to 3/4 of a truck, somewhere in there should be your average job size. That's where the average customer is coming from. Here's the thing that I find kind of amusing is we're all after the big multi-truckload jobs. And don't get me wrong here, I'm all for it. I love multiple truckload jobs. But realize your average customer is spending the average job size. That's where your customers are coming from. So when you're making marketing decisions, look at your average job size and realize, residential average job size, commercial average job size, where are they coming from? And kind of focusing on that area. I love large jobs. We got our fill of them, but I think that that's kind of the area you want to look at is the average job size. Dump, I want to make sure dump's in there, payroll.
Let me ask you, how would you have them improve the average job size? And is that being on site, looking for more junk and just trying to get it in the truck and all that?
Yeah. Simplest way is to, when we gave a price in the beginning, we didn't give a quote. We gave an estimate. Okay. I never gave a quote because it's gonna hurt either you or me. So I gave an estimate, a low, medium, and high. All right. I kind of figured it was going to be in the medium when I gave the customer the estimate. And I would say, Paul, based on what you have here, it's going to fall between a quarter of a load to a half a load, and it might be three divisions. Now we had 13 increments on our price sheet, and there was a reason for that. Because if I'm going to move you up in price, upsell, I'm going to say, Paul, it looks like we got to the halfway point, which is about $475. For an extra $40, we can get up to the next level if you have anything else around. So the reason for the 13 was to make sure that we had room to upsell. And otherwise, Paul, if we come out here, it's going to start at the minimum, which is $150, $200, whatever your minimum is. So you can move them that way. You can always be looking. In fact, during role plays, these are some of the things we talk about is, when you're at a person's home, look not only in the inside, look outside, look for opportunity areas where it might be something like a swing set that's in the backyard that take you nothing. Pull it down and charge them maybe whatever the extra that's going to be, but talk about that. Upselling is what we basically went on. The AJS, when it came down to, we're order takers. We don't become salespeople until we get an objection. Because a lot of people say, yeah, just get rid of the junk. I don't want it anymore. Great. I gave them the price. They're fine with it. Let's go. some people say, well, it sounds kind of pricey. Well, the last thing you want to do is discount your price. So we talk about ways in which we can build up the value, talk about the reasons why. But at the end of the day, if somebody's going to cancel on site, I'm going to say, Paul, what kind of budget did you have? What did you want to spend? So I'm not going to leave without something. I'm going to get something for it. So even when people had a budget, we would say, Paul, based on what you showed me, some of the bigger things, I know it's going to be tough for you to do. Maybe not you, Paul, because you got the muscles, but it's going to be tough for most people to do. Why don't we take the big stuff and the smaller stuff you can get rid of? So we're always talking about avoiding the cancellation, because anytime I had a cancellation, especially on site, it hit me right in the heart. So I want to make sure that the guys are well trained into how do they handle rejection. Again, they're order takers, and if you haven't trained them, when they say the customer says to your guy in the truck, if you haven't trained him, well, that sounds pretty expensive. First thing he's going to say is, well, maybe I'll drop the price, or maybe how about if I drop the price? Forget that. Most people will push your button because they can, and if you come back at them with, well, I understand. Some people have felt that way. But Paul, you told me this stuff has been here for 2 years. 20 minutes, it's out of here. Okay, yeah, I guess so, go ahead. So a lot of it is, when I say sales training, it's, again, we're not a junk removal company, we're a sales and marketing company. And to bring it down to another level, my truck, when it's in your driveway, is a sales truck. When it's on the street, it's a marketing vehicle. My guys, when they're with you, their customers, they're a sales team. When they're out in the field, they're a marketing team. So when they go to McDonald's, this is just a small thing. When they go to McDonald's, where do you park the truck? In the back of the McDonald's? No. Park in the front. Park it by the street where people can see it. That's a rolling billboard. So we have, I have a whole program on doing some of the local marketing. We call it the Purple Cow marketing. And I think that using your team in that capacity marketing, that will help scale your business faster than anything.
Okay. Now, when you're on call and everything, and you're trying to, you're trying to save the sale, and you're saying not to discount right away. So, what are you doing? Are you reestablishing the key value points that the customer brought you there? Is that what you're reinstating to remind them? And is there anything else that you're also saying?
Yeah, whatever's valuable to that customer, but it's usually a question of, finding out, well, Paul, how long has it been here? The question of time. Okay. You asked about recycling. Let me tell you we have an extensive landfill diversion program. Once we take it from you, Paul, we're not done. We're actually going to take it to someplace where somebody else could use it. Maybe you can't use it, but somebody else they'd love to have it. All of this stuff builds value. So you can go through the points that you make with your customers about what you think you bring in value, but listen to your customers, listen to what they say. I'd like to know, what do you biggest question is, what do you do with this stuff? And we role played it, because it gets asked so often to your truck teams that I want them to answer it correctly. I want them to make sure people understand that, yeah, we have an extensive landfill diversion program. And in fact, about 60-70% of what we pick up gets diverted from a landfill. Now, realize that that's not direct, but indirectly, by the time we were dealing with transfer stations, not dumps in Chicago, so they would have a downstream, they'd recycle even further. So we would be claiming that as a marketing tool, but we'd be using it as a sales strategy.
That makes sense. Now, let me ask you, as far as giving, customer calls you up and they want a quote right then and there. They don't want you coming out to the place or whatever. Would you give them the estimate on the phone?
There's only one time I'd really have to give them a quote, is single item pricing. Got a hot tub, how many seats? 4-seater, 6-seater, whatever. I have pricing for single items. Okay, so I have no problems when somebody says, I have a hot tub, I have a sofa, I have a refrigerator. I'll give them our price is this, But when somebody says, yeah, I got I got a backyard or a shed, or I say, well, our pricing, you can do it a few ways. Our pricing starts at a minimum and goes to a maximum. Our truck teams do this stuff every day. When they get on site, they'll be happy to look at your things, and they'll give you an estimate of what they think that it's going to cost. If I give you a price over the phone, it may hurt you, it might hurt me, and these guys do this stuff every day. And oh, by the way, Paul, if you don't like the price, they can move on to the next job.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's all about not cornering yourself or getting yourself in a corner. And that was, I had to learn that first year of giving too low a price and taking it really hard at the dump. So I learned really quickly. Burn me once, shame on them. Burn me twice, shame on me. So I learned quickly.
What systems made operations run smoothly that 1-800-GOT-JUNKS implements?
Well, we had an SOP book, and everybody should have standard operating procedures. They should be working on what they can multiply as far as systems. When it gets down to systems, the truck training, HR, finance, marketing, all of it has to be in some kind of strategic SOP, what you do, how you do it. So have a plan, have a program. We did have that.
How did you build that up? Was that some given by the company, or is that something that you built over time?
They gave us the framework of it, and
Okay.
it was pretty extensive. But we also built our own stuff into it. As far as for my franchise, what are the standing operating procedures? For instance, you ask in the morning, how to get a truck team ready? What are some of the things you do? One of them was to have the meeting, but the other one was to do truck inspections. What was a truck inspection? How do you go through that type of thing? So having that in written form where it can be duplicated, you can either do, I know there's video training for SOPs, but there's also sit down, just reading it.
So what would you recommend for somebody like me, getting together a binder and start putting together something like that now? Should I look to get something like 1-800-GOT-JUNKS as like a framework and use something like that? Like, how do I develop something like that over time if I'm just starting on my own building it?
Well, I'm going to tell you that you can start writing these things down, and I think that it'll be helpful, but I would encourage you to, in your mastermind or the BOLD group, you guys come up with your own format. At least, I would, because ours was kind of franchise tilted. Yours would be more the owner operator plus scaling it. So I would come up with my own SOPs. That's probably my better advice to you, to do something like that. There's stuff, you can buy them off the shelf, but I would rather see it tailored to you and your guys.
Exactly, the forget about it way and all the forget about it culture. And would you recommend having like a hard copy, like as a binder, or having it like digital on the computer, something like an app or something? Because I know, you did this in the past, maybe things have changed a little with technology. Is it still make sense to have a big binder in the truck, or?
Well, when I had black hair, it was a binder. When I got gray hair, it turned into video. So, but yeah, I would have, one of the things that we had, what was it? Video-based training is a big deal. And I know, Lee offers video-based training. I think that that's a big deal. But as far as the SOPs, I think as a group, you guys should really tackle that, because that would be something that you could mold. And again, all you're doing is imitating what the big guys are doing. So why have 15, 20, 30, 40 guys going out doing their own SOPs when you collectively get together and come up and build it up? That's where your strength is. As individual owners, if you get together as a group and act or respond like franchises do, that's where the strength is.
That's a really good observation right there. I'm going to definitely talk with them about that. And what I've kind of been doing with the group is I've been getting individually each one what they've been using, and I kind of been, just going over it all and then seeing what I could combine to make my own custom one. But I like that approach better, where we all just kind of unite and build it out together. Considering none of us are competition with each other, so that would work out pretty well. So I'll definitely bring that up. Also, what metrics were non-negotiable, as far as tracking, daily and all that for you guys? I know
Well,
you said the AJS was, the most important, but like, what is some other, the crew was, really paying attention to daily?
well, the one we used to track is we track sales over goal, sales over last year. That was a big deal. Then we tracked the dump percent, and this was per team per day. We tracked the
And
payroll.
what is the dump percent now?
My dump percent was anywhere from usually ran around 7 to 9%.
That was the one that you told us about when you came into the mastermind group, and you said that if it was any higher than that, that's when we need to start tracking that number and seeing what's going wrong. Was that that
Well,
KPI?
it is, but dump is just a percent, okay? And through day after day, you'll always have a dump percent. You're gonna have a certain level that you sustain. Because my dump cost is different in Chicago than it is where you're at. It's going to be all over the country. Just look at the percent where you sustain an average. You can try to dig a little bit lower by negotiating lower dump fees, but reality is it's going to stay within a range. My range was anywhere from 7 to 9%. If it went to 10 to 12, I would ask questions, but I wouldn't get crazy about one day. I'd get crazy about 1 week. I'd get even crazier about a month because something's wrong somewhere. So I'd stay within that range. And everybody, when percentages do not lie, dollars don't tell you anything. Percentages don't lie. If you have an 8% dump this year, you'll probably have an 8% dump next year, and the year after, and the year after, and the year after. So they don't lie. If it does go down, you might gotta ask yourself, maybe I got to raise my prices, or if it goes up. So those are great indicators that help operate your business. Without them, you don't know. Sales per payroll hour. That's taking your sales divided by your payroll hour per day will give you an efficiency on how well your guys are doing. So if they did $2,000 and their hours were 16 hours, divide 2,000 by 16 will give you a sales per payroll hour. Again, I ran at a certain level. Everybody will run at different levels, but there's a trend line that you're going to hit with dump. There's a trend line on all your percentages you're going to work on. And that goes with the P&L, and that goes with your daily numbers, your KPIs. Work the trend line. And when it's below or above, that's when the alarm bells should be going off.
Sam, how do you negotiate with the dumps? What would you go and say to them to get a lower rate? And, what do you got to offer them that's going to make them want to give you a special rate?
It was tough in the beginning. We had a 2-ton minimum, and it took us probably 6 months to bring that down to a 1-ton minimum. They finally understood what we were doing. Nowadays, I think that they're well aware of junk removal. I think that it's probably in your best interest to go talk to them either the beginning of the year or in the middle of the year or both, and just talk to them about they're interested in what's your volume? What are you going to bring us? And that's going to be a concern for them. But it's also the loyalty of I'd want to use you, and I want to use you exclusively. I'm building something special here. I'd like to have you guys along for the ride. Some of them will think you're nuts, or some of them will really appreciate it, and they'll try to work with you. So I try to go in and have that discussion, and I knew the owners of the transfer stations. I always, in Chicago, we were lucky because we had independent transfer stations. Some of them were larger than most, but we didn't. Any national brand like Waste Management, those were usually not places that I dumped at. I just had too many options that were available. Not everybody does, you know, you know, an 8% dump is pretty low. You might not be able to do it where in your market, that's fine. But you can get to a level to where it makes sense, to where you're charging enough to give you a dump percent that's workable. But I'd go in there twice a year.
Now, even like these big companies like Waste Management, me being only one truck right now, is that something that is reality, or they're just going to be like maybe come back in a couple of years or something when you get a little bigger? Or what's your thoughts on that?
You know, I'm not afraid to ask anything. I don't. You know, in sales, you're used to rejection a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, you just are. So if you make, you know, if you make a presence this year, you may not get anywhere, but they'll remember you.
Yep.
You go in there next year, and maybe you'll get something, maybe you won't. They'll remember you. And it also, the dumps are really interesting places to go. Both transfer, you know, we are chained to them. Without them, we don't have a business. So we are dependent on the dumps. If we mess that up, we are screwed. One of the things that guards most of these places are their OSHA safety standards. If we show as much importance in them maintaining safety as they do, that means a lot to them. So they don't want hassles from our guys. They don't want hassles from our business. They want to be paid when they're paid. So if you keep your nose clean and you show that you care about, you know, being a good customer to them, you know, that's the best thing you can do. I can't guarantee that with one truck you're going to get that, but they'll take notice.
I'll make him an offer he can't refuse. You know,
there you go. Forget about it.
Who's the title I'm looking for? I know you said an owner, but you know that might be a little hard to find over at the transfer station. Who's the guy the big wig that's going to be able to make that call?
It's usually a facilities manager that would be there. You can get that, you know, the scale house. Usually, you can get the information from them.
Okay.
By the way, scale house it does a lot when you reward them with a dozen donuts.
I got to say that, Sam. So I every like month or two, you know, I come in with a bunch of pizzas and waters, and you know, I am pretty well known at all the dumps. They all know me. They all, as soon as I come in, they all start, forget about it. Everybody's got the stickers on their helmets, and so I definitely got the presence over there. So I'm definitely gonna go and reach out to these people. The other thing that I was wondering if it's a possibility, I don't know if you ever got some set up like that. What about altered hours? You know, most dumps close at 3 p.m. Is there any way of getting, you know, maybe like dumping to 6 p.m.? Have you ever heard of anything like that?
I mean, yeah, that's a one-off. I mean, you're basically going in there with your fingers crossed, seeing if they'll do anything for you. I had a really nice situation where the guy gave me the key to the front gate, and I would pull my trucks anytime in the 24 hours, pull them onto the scale, write it down. It was a trust system, and believe me, that was one of about 5 or 6 I had, and it didn't last forever, but it was probably 2 or 3 years we were on the trust system. We had dumps that would open on Sundays. I will tell you that Sundays was a tough day for me to decide to open, both from, you know, my own personal faith side of it. I didn't want to work on Sundays. I didn't want my guys to work on Sundays. But I said what happened was my business, and I'll tell this in my trainings, the business will talk to you. The business will tell you you're not open on Sundays, but your others are. The other competitors are on. So you can always sit back and say, well, my dumps aren't open. Well, how have they figured that out and you can't? So the fact that your dumps are closed on Sundays isn't a good enough excuse to stay closed. Just find out how to do it. And we were open from 11 to 4 on Sundays. It was the highest AJS because both decision makers were home. The guys had plenty of chance to whatever faith they wanted to go as far as church. They had it before 11 o'clock. It turned out to be a pretty good day. It took a little time to build because people thought we were off. We were closed Sundays, but we finally started to make some real headway.
I like that. I gotta look into that. Yeah, I was kind of doing the Sunday as as my off day, my rest day. But I was saying, as far as when I get my employees going and all that, I will be running on Sundays. I just physically and mentally need it for myself right now. Me being on the truck all the time, and
Mhm.
now I wanted to just go over one more. I know we talked about it earlier in the interview. Was your mentor? Um, Now, I know that was in optical and all, but who was the mentor in the junk industry? Was there somebody that really stuck out to you that really helped you, just level up a lot quicker?
There were, and it's it's collectively. There was some. There was not one person. There was a group of people. Cliff in Cincinnati built a beautiful business. Judy in Boston, they've since sold and they're gone. But they were great people to deal with. Todd up in Milwaukee. I'm going to leave people out, but it was a group of people. In your bold group, there's no one mentor that but there might be, but collectively you get great ideas from people they're living the day to day stuff you are. You talk about Sundays, they're living that same thing Sundays. You know what? You know you, when I was on the truck and I had I had a part timer and a full timer and um, that first year, it killed me. 48 years old. I mean, it was a killer, but I wasn't going to fail. And it sucks the breath out of your personal life. It really does. I have something here. Um, it hung on my wall because of it. Entrepreneurship, okay, is living a few years like most people won't, so that you can live your life like most people can't.
Yes,
Okay,
true.
bust your butt in the beginning. Do the things that are so incredibly that nobody else will do, because later on you'll be doing things that no. I have so much freedom now. Um, I have so much freedom that the dang junk business pulls me back in. But
Sam, you just nailed it. I mean, I'm in the same place as you are with that. 4 years ago, I was retired in my head. I didn't have to do anything else. I got a couple other businesses that allow me to be free and all. So I got into arm wrestling and just went all in and became one of the world top promoters. And it was supposed to be a hobby, but of course, me always makes it into a business. It's just something I do. So, I was just literally just throwing arm wrestling events all over the world, and just having a great old time. 4 years of doing it, I just said to myself, "What the hell am I doing? Like, there's more to me. Like, I'm not done. I want to do something else. I'm bored. You know what I mean?" So it was the same kind of thing, and I didn't have to work no more or whatever, and started telling everybody, "Oh, I'm gonna go jump on a junk truck," and never did manual labor in my life, but here we go. We're gonna go, and everybody's looking at me like, "What? You're getting on a junk truck? You're gonna be picking up other people's trash?" Like it just didn't sit right with everybody. Everybody was like, they thought I was literally out of my mind. Like, what happened? Did you lose the rest of your businesses and all? I just, there was more to me, and I wanted to build a brand, something that I could spread across the country and everything. So, like when you say that, man, it's just in us, man. Like it's just we can't sit down and relax. It's same thing with you. You got out, you sold your business, you were very successful. You probably never have to talk junk again. And what are you doing? You're on a junk podcast right now. You're going on the junk masterminds all the time. It's in us, man. It's in our blood.
well, what I find in most entrepreneurs, and I've known of quite a few as franchisees and as other in the optical business, is they're creative people. We're all creative people. We like to create something that's successful. Our focus is fine focused. We have a failure is no option. We'll work till we drop, put this company on top type of attitude. But we get bored. Once we reach that pinnacle, once we reach that success, we get bored and we start thinking, what else can I be doing?
What's next?
And I'll tell you, it's a good trait and it's a bad trait. A good trait because you can diversify and get into other businesses that are going to sustain a level of wealth you never thought you'd have possible. But a bad thing is to expand and be too soon and too quick. Any business you get into is got to go back to the days of startup. So if you're successful in one business, like I knew a lot of the junk people were, and they got into moving and everything else that didn't go so well, is they wanted to do the same thing in another business, but they forgot that they had to step back and start up. That they have to step back and giving this baby all the nourishment it needs to survive. And if you don't take that, if you don't get that message, you're gonna flounder. So it's a trait of entrepreneurs to get bored.
Yes, it definitely is. What's a book or lesson that changed your trajectory?
The E-Myth was one.
Ooh, I just read that recently. That's a good one. Yep.
Traction was a really good one for me. I read a lot more books when I was in the optical business and a lot less when I was but Traction was a really good book for me. But in the junk world, we had conferences where they would bring in speakers, so that was good. Oh, one of the things I learned that we go to conferences and we have great speakers talking to us about our business, and it was good value, but there was better value, what we used to call the hall talk in between the conferences. We'd go out in the hall and talk to other franchisees. That's where you get the most, direction. And in fact, a lot of the stuff you hear and read about it's an arm's length away. It's where I want to be. But the stuff that's right in your grasp is talking to people that are in the business or in your shoes right now.
I totally agree with that for sure. At your peak, how many trucks were you running?
25.
Wow. How many total employees?
100.
Oh my God. And how many locations did you have?
Three locations.
Wow. And what does it look like running 100 employees? And what kind of systems does that entail?
More than I'm capable of doing. I'll tell you, the day that I hired my HR manager was the day I could get rid of the chains. Okay, here's a for instance, as owner operators or business owners, the most important part of your business is your people. But the amount of time you can spend on it is probably 10 or 20% of your total time, if that. Okay. So here I'm trying to build a company and spending as little time on people, knowing that it's the biggest. So when I was large enough, I think it was right around the 6 million, I hired an HR person who said, I'm going to be focused in on just people. They went to the recruitment fairs. It was like, whew, that was quite the thing. So there were times where, yeah, I think that some of the decisions I made, I had three different fuels that I used in my trucks. I used diesel, gas, and propane. I was allowed by the franchisor to put propane trucks because I was the second largest in the system, but I was able to put 6 propane trucks on the road, and I loved them. They were great. Diesel trucks, we were told in the beginning diesel would last longer than gas, but that wasn't true. Diesel over long road in the semis, where they don't do the stop and starts, maybe better for them, but for our business, gas trucks seem to be the most economical, the ones to use. If your state gives you a rebate on propane, might be something to consider. Because I bought propane on contract, and they came to my warehouse or my yard, filled my trucks, so the guys didn't have to stop for them. So that was kind of cool. But I don't hear a lot about electric trucks or alternative fuels or anything like that. But I tried propane. It was a clean fuel. The trucks didn't give me much trouble, but they took away the rebate on the environmental rebate from the state of Illinois. And so it's cheaper just to buy gas.
Okay. Now, can you walk us through what scaling looked like that first 5 years as far as, trucks and employees? I know the first year it was 2 trucks, 3 employees. How did each year, how much did you go up?
Well, the first couple of years it was, let's see, from 47 to 220 to 390. These are just based on what I'm recalling. Probably around probably 4 years I was into it. It was over $500,000, and then I started buying more area. Started buying up areas, and that helped scale my business too. Was to be able to throw a larger net out. Because again, we bought protected areas. Even though you're across the street in another zip code, I couldn't service you because you weren't in my protected area. So by scaling the business, I had to buy. So that took a little time off my scaling my business. To get from one end of my territory to the other was 85 miles through Chicago traffic, which was impossible. So I had to have 3 strategically placed warehouses. And I think that within when I started in the first year, I had a parking lot was my office. My second and third year, I was in believe it or not, a 400 square foot office in a mall where my trucks were being seen by everybody. And about the third or fourth year, I rented a warehouse which had a waist-high dock. And that's when I seriously got into landfill diversion. Up until that point, I used storage units. Getting up to the million mark was probably, I want to say it was year 6 or 7. And then it just started it started scaling really big when we started doing radio. Radio was a big deal back then. So it scaled really quickly. I think that.
Give me an idea, like what was your market, like how much would it cost to get on the radio and how frequent and all that?
I can remember doing a $450,000 buy for 11 months. And, I remember the buy. The lucky thing for me is they negotiated the rates with with the radio stations, which was really helpful from the marketing side. But I was also involved in that, so I had to make sure that everything that they negotiated, I was willing to go forward with. But it was, I don't consider, if anybody's considering radio or TV or anything, call on a professional. Don't do it yourself, unless you have that skill level. I don't, so they did it for me. But I just remember pulling the trigger on $450,000 of marketing spend on radio, without knowing exactly what the outcome is going to be. You can't buy just a couple months. You have to buy, quite a few months.
And would you say it would have the same impact today as it did back then, or radio was a lot more, that was the way to do it back then and not so much today?
Probably not the same impact, but I'm not so sure it'd be the same pricing. I've been a long time since I checked into radio. I will tell you this. Here's the other thing about marketing that I really am a strong believer in. It's not a one-prong attack. You don't do digital marketing and say, where's my customers? You have to put an attack together, a marketing plan that's going to include direct mail. It's going to include digital marketing. I'm a big proponent of guerrilla-based marketing, truck team-based marketing. It's going to be, if you're going to bring in radio or billboards. I'm not a proponent of billboards. Don't like them, hate them. But if you're going to do anything outside of that in print, look at coupon books. We did Valpak, and there was another one we did. We also did these Clipper magazines where their coupons clipped out. Those things, watch them closely because they tend to have a shelf life. After a few times, you'll get a few back, but sometimes those will run their course and be done. So know when to pull the trigger, but go into this thing with a strategic marketing plan, and not one where you hire a company to get your customers for you and that's it. No, that's what, Paul, I like what you do. I like all the stuff that you do because you're looking at your business from a higher level. But I think you also have to, if you haven't, I'm sure you've figured that out, that it's not just one prong, two prong. It's got to be several prongs. You'll see roadside signs that junk companies put up. I like them a lot. People say, well, do customers actually call you? I don't know. But I'll tell you, anytime I can get forget about me in front of a customer's eyes, okay? I don't care what form it's going to be. That's one more impression that I've had. So I use whatever I need to use to get my impression, my brand in front of your eyes. So if it's a sign, if it's we do something that's kind of funny. We pick intersections where they're very busy, and we do waves. We actually pull the truck where it's a billboard, bring a sign out. Each of us have a sign and wave at traffic.
Oh, I like that one. Yeah, that's a good one. I haven't tried that one yet.
I'm 48 years old, and I'm in my neighborhood on a corner with a sign, waving at traffic, feeling like a schmuck. Okay, really, that's got to be the lowest. I mean, you talk about lowest. That was one of the lowest.
Yeah.
And I was in front of a honey baked ham store, and she comes out and she says to me, "Why don't you get a real job?" I said, "Lady, go bake a ham." And I just stayed there. I got to tell you that when I talk about Purple Cow marketing, and this is some of the things I talk about, is that herd of black and white cows that are in the pasture, but there's one purple one. Yep. Which one are you going to look at?
The purple one.
Yeah. So when you're on a street corner, I was laughing all the way to the bank.
Yep. 100%.
Yep.
Same thing. Same thing as like I'll give you a good example with the arm wrestling world with me. First 20 events I threw was in Texas. One of those events, somebody put a cowboy hat on me. I was like, oh, cool. Had a bunch of people saying things about it. Next event, I was like, you know what? Let me rock the cowboy hat. Did it again and all. So I go to another place now. We go to West Virginia. No cowboy hat in on. I swear the whole night I had explained to every single person, where's the cowboy hat? That's when I realized, holy shit, the cowboy hat came something. And it was the weirdest thing. I'm a New York, Queens guy wearing a cowboy hat, going around throwing arm wrestling. And people I grew up with back home, they're like, what the hell are you wearing a cowboy hat, bro? Like, what the hell is going on? I said, it stuck. I didn't even see it coming. It came part of my brand in arm wrestling, and now everybody knows me as, the cowboy. That it went so crazy, they actually made a 52 card players card poker cards, and each one had a character from the arm wrestling world, and they put me on. I was the 4 diamonds as the cowboy, Paul Italia. So it really, really took off worldwide and everything. So something so stupid like that could be something that just makes you stand out,
Well, in New York, don't they have some cowboy that stands on a street corner?
Oh my God, yeah. So yeah, in Times Square, I actually my old I used to be in the Diamond District. I used to be on the retail block, 46th Street, and we used to sell. The wholesale block. And we used to sell the retail, and I used to see him quite often and all that, and had nothing to do with that, but just something like that, it just makes you stand out, so that's kind of like,
get him to hold one of your signs.
Yeah, there you go.
That's why mascots do so well. I mean, they kind of give it gives a character to the team, to the business. That's why you stand out. That's why you are the brand. That's another thing that I was. Somebody came in and told me, in the beginning, about 5-6 years in, he said, "Sam, you realize you got a great business here, but you're the single point of failure." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "If you go down, you got no bench strength to back you up. So realize that you better have a plan in place." And these are the kind of words. Simon, okay, you wanted a mentor, big mentor for me. Simon told me this, and I was like, he's right. I got my wife. I don't have children to take over the business. If I go down, she's the back office. I'm the operations. I am screwed. So realize that until you can't help it start up being the single point of failure, but as soon as you can build that bench strength, you build some security around your business, what you built.
I agree with that. Now, I'm going to speed this up a little because we still got a couple of questions that we got to get through that I really definitely got to hit up. Let's start off with your hiring process. What did that look like?
Usually phone interview to what we call kick-out questions. Obviously, the questions that, do you have a valid driver's license? Can you pass a drug test? So we didn't, oh, and we used the job boards that they use today. I mean, the same ones. Which ones are you using as far as job boards?
Is it like Indeed is?
Yeah.
Okay. So did
Indeed
they
was,
have Indeed back then, or?
Craigslist was a bigger one and a little bit more, little better quality. Indeed turned out to be one of our biggest ones. So we drop it in Indeed, and usually the ad was pretty small. I wanted to, have some kind of hook that would be in the ad that would get people interested, and it's usually around money. The thing that surprised me the most was the tips, what people were willing to tip people. So by adding, at the time, the hourly wage and tips, and being able to attract people to at least a hook that get them in, and then talk to them about the business. But we usually set up first interview, and again, these were group interviews. As a group, we would, at the end of the interview, we'd dissect or analyze who was there, who's worth hiring, who's not. If we saw a need, we call them in for a second interview, or if we were willing to take the opportunity or take the chance on them. That's why having two people interviewing 1, 2, 3, 4 people gives you a quicker kind of idea who you're going to take a chance on. But usually that's all it took to find somebody. Then when I brought them in, they usually did about 2 days of training, which was computer-based training, which would train them a little bit in our business. We did a couple of things that we did before we hired them. I don't know if it's legal in each and every state, but before we hired them, we had them come to a morning meeting, so they knew what time they were required to be there. So if they made it, that was they cleared one hurdle. We had them go out on a job just to be an observer, see what the job is all about. So there's several ways to do that, to spin that, to where you can, last thing you want is a guy that works for you a couple days and leaves, or works for you a week or a month or 2 months and you put all the training in and he leaves. So you try to give them a pretty good idea. And I was big in performance reviews, making sure that they understood where they were and what they were doing.
What's some characteristics that made someone succeed?
Oh, they can talk to people. Muscles are muscles are great to look at, but as far as sales skills, they don't bring anything to it. It's the person behind the muscle. So I can tell you that it wasn't always about the strongest person in the room. It was a guy who could talk to me. So in a group interview, if I had 3 people, the guy sometimes who talks the least is the one that's the diamond in the rough. But the last thing I want is a guy to show up your front step as my customer, staring at his shoes, trying to sell a product he doesn't believe in. So I want to make sure it's somebody that can talk, has the social skills, hasn't been in the basement and finally decided to get a job. Somebody that has a little charisma. They're hard to find. I will be the first one. They're hard to find, but when you find them, I also had my hiring policy on my wall was feed tigers, kick horses, shoot dogs. Tigers, those are the guys that will protect your company against you. That's how much they're dedicated. Feed them, give them everything they need. Tickets to a game, dinner out with their girl. Feed them, feed the tigers, keep them happy, review them, give them what they need. The horses, these are the guys that are always going to show up. They're not going to be tigers, but they're there to collect a paycheck, and they're there to be 2 hands, and they're just make sure you keep in line. So keep kicking them and making sure they do good stuff. The dogs, make sure you shoot the dogs as quickly as possible. I know that based on bad hires, and sometimes everybody's had them. Bad hires can ruin a team quicker than anything. So indecision can ruin your team. So when slow to hire, quick to fire, make sure don't tolerate people that don't perform. That's both in an HR and also in a sales role. Give them plenty of chances. We didn't fire people at will just because they screwed up. We gave people the opportunity to make mistakes. But, if they made too many mistakes and they were aware of them and they knew how to do it better, there was a performance corrective action that we took, that we followed up with. But my hiring policy was, we tried to stay to it. Again, I think HR is the hardest part of the job, is finding people that are going to be the heart and soul of your business once you leave that chair.
How did you hold people accountable without losing culture?
Getting them involved in the business. I always said I wanted their head in my business. So having KPIs, having them know what the goal is per day, per week, per month, and also setting expectations of what happens if you hit your goal. So we had, and a lot of it was team environment. So when it came down to hitting our goal for the month, usually we did the things most of our guys like to do, and that was eat. So I'd take them out for steak dinners. I'd take them out we did all, I would tell them, just, where do you want to go? Brazilian steakhouse was one of the big deals. Took them for paintball, took them for go-kart tracks, train. If they got their head in the game and got to be on your side of the business and pushing what you were pushing, and got rewarded for it, that was the culture I wanted. And again, when somebody asked me, do you have a hard time firing people? Because a lot of people do. I try to, in my mind, realize that I'm not protecting me, I'm protecting my team. They come first. So when I have a non-performer, usually I'm the last one to find out in a team. They'll tell me they don't want to work with the guy, or they'll tell me they don't want anything to do with him. But I also protect them. They come to work every day and they give me 110%. I owe it to them. It's my responsibility to protect them. So I let non-performers not take up their time too long.
So Sam, how would you handle that? Say, I have 2 guys on a job right now, and I go pick them up. The one guy that's been with me longer pulls me aside, and he's just like, having problems with the other guy. He's not holding his weight. He's moving real slow. When I'm leaving, he's not doing what he's supposed to be doing. How do I go about handling that?
Well, first I might have a conversation with him, and I'd say, just kind of get an idea what he thinks about his performances. A lot of times he may think he's doing wonderful, fantastic. Or he might surprise you and say, yeah, it's much tougher than I thought. Then maybe talk to the other person, then and collectively get them together. Because either, what I'm interested in, I'm interested in salvaging the guy that's giving me 110%. So I'm going to be on his side. I'm going to say, listen, based on what you told me, I'm going to have a discussion with him. I'm going to talk to him about it. We'll see if we can change his attitude. That's probably the direction, of course, I'd go in, but I make sure that he knows that I'm trying to protect him, and that at the end of the day, if he's not salvageable, then let's develop a plan on what we're going to do and how we're going to work together on planning his exit.
Okay, now I want to get to the ending of you in junk industry. I want to kind of find out, well, how many years total were you in the junk removal industry? Was that 15 years, you said?
Yeah, 15.
Okay, and when did you start planning the exit?
That's a great question. Well, I started planning my exit, the day I opened. I told you that, but reality was, I turned 65, and I said to him, and it was just another year for me, but for my wife, I think it's a little bit stronger year for her. We're the same age, and we talked about selling the business, but never really seriously. So one morning we're having coffee, and she says to me, "Well, now that you're 65, what's your plans for the business? I mean, are you gonna die in the truck?" And I said, "Well, I really, I thought about at some point in time. My initial thought, and this is probably you too, most of the entrepreneurs, I wanted to take something from inception, from day one, and turn it into something." And I said, "That's what I did." I'm talking with her further. I'm talking, and she made me realize that what more I could grow the business to 20 million. I could grow it to 30 million. Maybe I could, but certainly I'd give it a swing. But why? How much money do I need? I don't need a lot, and I get more out of the experience of it all. So my big question was, am I ready to give up the experience and do something else? And you haven't seen my golf game, but I really needed to get back to my golf game. So I said, you're right. I said, I've done it. There's nowhere else. It's not going to, I'm getting, I'd be other entrepreneurs who got bored, and that's not good for the business. And I said, let's see what we can do to sell this thing. And that was kind of the decision. So it wasn't one I thought about for years and years. It came up in a conversation when I turned 65.
And what factors made the business attractive to buyers?
That's an easy question. The 26,000 customers I serviced the last year.
Wow.
Yeah.
And are you open to sharing roughly what the business sold for?
I'm not going to give you the exact details, but usually you're looking for, in a franchise organization, 1.2, 1.5 of revenue.
Okay. And looking back, would you structure your exit any differently, knowing what you know today?
No. I wouldn't structure my exit from the franchise business any different. I'll say that it was a bit of I'll tell you the thing that really surprised me was when I just did decide to sell, and I did try to look for people that were willing to buy. They weren't out there. First of all, figure if I said to you, "Paul, I got a business for sale. I want you to put down several $1 million. And oh, by the way, in the back here, it's called a franchise agreement. They run every 5 years." Now, the franchisor was nothing but supreme. I mean, they were great. They were great. I never had a problem with them. They always were very helpful. I never had reasons to doubt them at all. The only thing is, in the franchise agreement, they have the ability to cancel your franchise if they will. I mean, that's after 5 years, you have to renew every 5 years. So obviously, any good franchise organization does not want to cancel their franchisees that are making them money. That doesn't make sense. But from Paul coming in wanting to buy my franchise, he's going to say, "I'm going to put all that capital at risk for a 5-year agreement." That was the thing that kind of, wow. I had a couple of offers, but that was the stumbling point. And that, with any franchise system, is probably the thing that surprised me the most. I didn't really think that. I thought I could take it to the street and it wouldn't be a problem, but it got too big to be able to, that it wasn't maybe a realistic risk, but it was still a risk. So that it became most of the sales now are internal groups of franchisees that got together and are buying internally, and that's what happened to mine. So, and that's what happened to quite a few of the ones that sell, is they're internally they're selling.
What should operators be doing today if they want a sellable business one day?
Know their numbers, but not only that, but have definitive numbers they could take to a bank. You can't sell a product by just telling them how wonderful it is. You have to, you have to measure it to manage it. So if you're managing a seller, you've got to be able to measure what they're measuring to buy it. So have a P&L, have books that are dead on. Yeah, I mean, when I say dead on, that they're pretty thorough, and that you have a monthly P&L and you have a balance sheet, and you have an annual P&L and balance sheet. Something you can take.
What mistakes destroy exit value? Obviously, not tracking your numbers would be one of them, but what else?
Poor assets, trucks, people, goodwill, your name, your brand, all those can destroy. I mean, when there's been several companies, individual companies have been purchased by equity partners out there that I've heard of, and they're looking for a strong client list or a customer list that has had value service. So value service, good reputation, the online reviews, all of those things that build a strong brand. I would say that, for somebody who's like yourself, who's bringing you're building a huge exposure to a brand that's different than most. Forget About It not only comes with the interesting name, which is a brand, a strong brand, but it comes with you, which that's got to be something. If somebody was going to come in to buy your brand down the road 15, 20 years from now, how strong are you within the brand? Right now, you're very strong and need to be. But at some point in time, that could diminish the value of it if you're gone.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So it does put me in a kind of awkward place because I am the brand, so I got to figure a way to keep the brand, running if I'm not the main person, and somebody I give a good example of that would be a guy John Morgan, the big lawyer down in Florida. I think he's like the biggest marketing lawyer there is. I think he dropped like 450 million this year just on marketing and all. But he is the face, and he always said when he first began, people were saying that it's not the best way to do for your brand is you being the face, unless you're going to marry it and be that for, the rest of the time and all. And he's kind of proved that in that way. He is the face of it. He's on all the billboards. He's everywhere. And he's a billionaire and he's still out there, obviously doing it and all that. So,
you've heard of a company called Empire Carpets?
Yes, I've heard of Empire Carpets.
Empire Carpets used to have a spokesperson, and I'm old enough to know he was young enough when I was young, and I grew throughout the years with him talking about Empire Carpets. That soon he got really old looking on TV, so they put a cartoon character of him up there, and to this day the cartoon lives long after he's been dead. So come up with a cartoon character of yourself.
There you go. It's in my logo. So yeah, we got it already. Forget about it. So I got to ask you, what are you focused on today? I know you're still dabbling in the junk industry, helping coaching and all that, but what is the main focus? Is it golf, or is it, or is there any other, business dealings going on, or?
I'm, I've really, I took on a consulting job working with Lee here in Raleigh, and that worked really well. Get my toe in the water. I've got my own consulting firm now that I take on junk removal partners that want to speak to me either on a weekly, monthly, quarterly, whatever. We talk over their business. So my consulting firm keeps me still involved with clients that I can talk to. And I love this stuff. I listen to myself while I'm talking to you, and I think of the guys that are out there listening to me and thinking, who is this guy? What's he talking about? I'm doing this, and I sound like I hope I don't sound like a know-it-all, but I love this stuff, and I like what I did, and I believe in what I did. So that's why I'm sounding so passionate about it. But believe me, I am at awed by some of the people that have gone out there without a franchise system behind them and been very successful. So trust me, that's why it's only my opinion, even though I love to talk about this stuff.
I
But
mean, you did it at the highest level and you were very, very successful. So you're very humble in your words, but I think any of the guys in the junk industry, when they hear 10 million in a year, I mean, it's a dream the most, it is, you're on a whole nother level of anybody I've heard of or seen. So,
well,
congrats. That
I built a strong team behind me. Trust me, it wasn't just me, and that's where I have to say that I had some really good people that came through the business with me. So it was fun. But
well,
yeah, yep.
hearing the full arc from first truck to 10 million annual revenue to exit is powerful. A lot of people see the trucks on the road. They don't see the years, the risk, the leadership, and the discipline behind it. For someone like me building right now, conversations like this are absolute gold. I want to end this conversation with a quick rapid fire section, if you don't
Sure.
mind, Sam.
Sure.
So, what's the most underrated KPI, would you say?
The sales per payroll hour.
Sales per payroll hour. Biggest mistake you would never make again.
Biggest mistake. Putting too much trust into people that disappointed me.
And that was back to the story with the employee that was stealing that you looked at as a son.
Yeah.
First $1 million lesson.
You can never have enough trucks. At one time, I ordered 6 trucks, and I thought, how am I going to ever get 6 trucks filled? Trust me, if you think you need a truck, you might need 2. But,
Wow.
Stretch yourself. Stretch yourself.
What's one decision you made that changed everything?
Well, there's been several, but the HR manager was a big change. That helped me a great deal because now I got somebody focused in on the priority, which is people run the business.
What separates operators who stay small from the ones who scale?
Thinking they're a junk removal company.
If your trucks disappeared tomorrow and you had to start from scratch, what's your first move?
The trucks disappeared. Now, we had a warehouse burned down on a Saturday. We closed down. We were reopened by Sunday, and we had a record month.
Wow.
So you're telling me losing trucks? I go rent Penske trucks. I'd be up in business the next day.
That's the hustler in you, Sam. That's it right there. It's in the blood.
Burnt to the ground. My ops manager called me at 1 a.m. on a Saturday early morning. He said, "Yeah, there's fire coming out of the top of the warehouse." And by 7 o'clock, it was gone, completely gone. And here's learning from it. All my 7 trucks were parked against the building, and only one of the grills was melted in the front. But guess where the spare keys were?
Where were?
In the building that burnt down. So they all had to be rekeyed. Keep spare keys off site.
That's a good one right there. And Matt, he was asking, Kevin, why buy pizza for the transfer station guys? He was talking about just gaining rapport with all the people that you're seeing every day, all the people at the dump, just giving back. It goes a long way and just helping out people and all that. Well, Sam, I just want to say I genuinely appreciate you from building your operation up to 10 million a year to leading multiple trucks, teams, and systems to eventually executing an exit. That's the full arc most operators only dream about. A lot of people see junk removal as just a truck and a dump run. But what you're shown today is that it is a real business. It's leadership, it's hiring, it's culture, it's systems, it's discipline. For someone like me, about a year into building Forget About It junk removal, conversations like this compress time. They help guys like me avoid mistakes and think bigger. And I really want to thank you for that, Sam. Is there anything that you would like to end this conversation with?
No, other than the fact that, I hope you guys love this business as much as I did, and I still do. And I hope that anything I said will assist and help somebody out there. And I'm available if people want to get in touch with me. I'm sure that you can get my name and number through Paul. Yeah, I mean, I just appreciate the time to let me have fun, because right now I'm having all the fun. When I'm not golfing, I love to talk junk.
Well, I love it, Sam. And is there somewhere where people could hit you up? Is there a certain social media platform that you prefer to be hit up on?
Well, I don't necessarily have a social media. I can give out my email address. I have no problems with that. It's S, and then my last name is SCHICK, just like the razor, 502 at gmail.com.
Perfect. And I will attach that in the description as well. And I'll also put on your Facebook link as well, so people could reach out to you if they would like to talk to you, or maybe, hire you some coaching, or, other services that you offer.
Absolutely. I appreciate the time, Paul. It's been fun. I've always wanted to talk to you since I first saw you. The character that I wanted to see who that person is behind all of that brand. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Well, Sam, you have me smiling ear to ear right now. Hearing that from you is just absolutely an honor. And I was so surprised when you came on the Mastermind, and you started talking directly to me, and I couldn't even believe that you knew me at that time. I was just like, holy shit, this is so cool right now. So thank you again for that, Sam. Lots of respect.
Forget about it.
I love it. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in, guys. I really appreciate all the great questions. And like I said, I'm going to try staying more active on here. We're going to start getting the interviews going. So if there's somebody you guys would like me to interview, or maybe you would like to come on the channel, feel free to hit me up, guys. I'm definitely going to be looking to bring some more people on. Thank you again for everybody's time. Sam, thank you again. It was amazing, epic interview. And you're always welcome on here. Anytime you would like to come on, feel free.
Thank you, Paul.
Well, have a great night, Sam.
All right. You guys too. Have a great night.
Bye-bye.